In examples 9 and 10, let's see, that should be example 10, not example 9. In examples 9 and 10, we want to look at interpreting some of the information from two different bar charts and look at how we answered some similar questions with pie charts that now are going to take a little bit more work just because of the way the information is generally presented. In example 9, a researcher surveyed 1,542 randomly selected people and asked if they had ever traveled internationally. Of those surveyed, 601 responded yes, 941 responded no. And then we're given the results in what should be a bar chart and not a pie chart. So we can pull the information out of the problem to know that the height of this bar for yes, even though it looks like it's right at 600, is actually 601. And the height of the no bar is 941, telling us that 941 people responded no. So while we can't get that information from the graph precisely, it's provided for us to give us that extra information. In part A, we're asked, have the majority of people surveyed traveled internationally? The way our pie chart information was set up, that was very easy to answer because everything was provided in percentages. With bar charts, information can be presented in percentages, but in this case it's being presented as counts. So the question is, have the majority of people surveyed traveled internationally? We know that 601 people have traveled internationally. And we know that a total of 1,542 people were surveyed. So we need to figure out what percentage that is by dividing those two values. And in this case, we would get 0.38975 and on. So we could round that and convert that into a decimal. We get approximately 38.98% of people have traveled internationally. That value is definitely less than 50%. So our answer to part A would be no. Definitely less than 50% of people who were in this survey have not, let me say that again. The majority of people surveyed have not traveled internationally. The percentage of people who have traveled internationally is far less than 50%. Then we're asked in part B, of those surveyed, what percent have traveled internationally? We already found that out when we were working out our answer for part A. Approximately 38.98% of people surveyed have traveled internationally. In example 10, now we have a researcher who surveyed 510 randomly selected people and asked which country they would most like to travel to. We're given the specific counts for these bars so we can add some information for clarity to our graph. 85 people responded they would want to travel to South America. 314 replied Europe. 36 responded Africa. And 75 responded Asia. In part A, we're asked, is there a region the majority of those surveyed would most like to travel to? So we don't know that exactly because we don't have the percentages, but we can see pretty clearly that the largest group of people want to travel to Europe. So that's the group we would probably want to look at. So we need to figure out if 314 out of 510 is larger than 50%. This would be 0.61568 and on. So we would round that to approximately 61.57%, which is definitely larger than 50%. So we would say, yes, the majority would choose Europe. If that result had come out to be something less than 50%, Europe would still be the most popular choice because that bar was the tallest, but we wouldn't have enough people replying to say the majority of people want to go to Europe. In this case, Europe is the most popular response, and the majority of people choose that destination out of this group that were surveyed because more than 50% of people replied Europe. Then we're asked, of those surveyed, what percent wish to travel to Asia? In this case, it was 75 people who responded Asia out of the 510. And this would give us approximately 14.71% of people.